This is what was deemed from the Byzantine period to be Caiaphas' palace, where Simon Peter denied the Lord 3 times, and where Jesus was likely imprisoned for a short time before his trials. I'd prefer not to get into all the evidences that this is indeed the place, except to say that it does seem more likely to be the spot for these events than anywhere else in Jerusalem. Instead, since I'm an aspiring novelist, it's in my best interest to examine closely all potential internal and external conflicts of Christ's era, plus understand well the, quote, bad guys. So, Dr. Fleming's answer to some questions would be of interest.
In the Old Testament, the prophets are constantly reminding the leaders, don't forget the poor. At the time of Jesus, the main leaders are non-Jews, procurators. What's clear is they have no one standing up for them. They often feel abandoned. They're just the crowds. There's corruption amongst the chief priestly families. There's some good priests, but the chief priestly families are corrupt.
The Pharisees then.
In John's Gospel, which is late, probably about 90, the only way you can say religious leader is the word Pharisee. But if you look carefully, Matthew, Mark, and Luke will say chief priests. John says Pharisee. So that becomes a later name for religious leader. The Pilgrims landed in Massachusetts. Was it called Massachusetts when they landed? No. You have to use a later name so people know what you're talking about. People don't know chief priest. The temple's been dead for at least 20 years. So John's Gospel uses the word Pharisee to mean religious leaders. Any good commentary on John points out when Matthew, Mark, and Luke say chief priest, John says Pharisee. Jesus expected more of them because he felt they had the right traditions. He was closer to them. He mixed with them. He didn't mix with the others that much. You expect more of your own denomination. You feel they should know better. You feel it has the right traditions. And speaking against something going in your own denomination doesn't mean necessarily that you have less in common with it. It means you have more in common. And you're more angry when something goes wrong there.
Pharisees are students of the scribes. The scribes teach the schools in Jerusalem. Then the Pharisees go teach in the synagogues in the villages. So you don't see too many scribes outside Jerusalem, right? But most towns had at least one Pharisee who studied the law, for their synagogue. Josephus says the Pharisees are the largest group. They are those who had more than 6 years of elementary school, right? For example, Jesus has not had formal education as far as we know. They're calling him a rabbi. His teachings as a rabbi would be more consistent with the school of Hillel Pharisees. And in that sense, you might say Jesus was a Pharisee, but not in the official sense. The scribes are most plentiful in Jerusalem. They're the teachers. The Sadducees, Jerusalem, because they're the priests. The Pharisees will be plentiful wherever there's a heavy Jewish population, because they're going to be the arch synagogues.
Jesus flew into the face of hypocrisy and power in different ways, but there's 3 I'd like to cover in this segment. First, his healing on the Sabbath. He did this frequently, but in Jerusalem all the stakes were raised because here was where all the powerful people were most powerful, hypocritical, and evil.